Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 18 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and we have a full house again today. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Pras and Late Riser. Long time, LR. How's it going?
Oh, feels good, man. Feels good. Every time I was watching you guys pod while I was first in a wedding there in the mountains, I was like, you feel the itch. It's like you're so used to talking about football and FPL every week. You just feel the itch. But you guys are amazing. Absolutely commendable job. I was feeling the itch so much that the team selection video actually I did on Friday turned out to be like a 40-minute solo ramble. But yeah. Glad to be back. How are you doing, Pras? Mr. 13.7K? Pras is so humble that even in the team selection video
He
title that he
refused to
does,
title it.
he refuses to title it. And even if he's titling it, he's putting 14K. Like, if it was me, I would have put 13K. That's the difference between me and Pras.
Always round up. My maths teacher told me. No, look. I mean, what can I say? It's good, man. Like getting Cunha points still, getting Isak points. Like it keeps changing the players that are delivering points in terms of luck. But honestly, the theme of the pod is Saka, and actually that is a big blow for people who are doing well because it blows up the template, it opens up so many options, which is good because a lot of our viewers are chasing, and a lot of people should be because this is the time. So. But before we go, Zoph, you were also away. So where have you been? And you got back, what, a couple of days ago?
Just yesterday. Yesterday, and we have to talk about the whole Singapore meetup to show you guys some pictures for those of you guys who are not on our Discord. So we planned a small meetup for a group in our Discord. It was supposed to be 8 to 10 people. Started out in a group of 4. So that's me on the left, Pulkit next to me. To the right, you see Gov in the black shirt. Then it's Rico. 4 of us to start of the night. Then a couple more joined in. You see Reina on the left and my hero Joshua on the right. So the fun part about Joshua Pras, he actually was planning to play Enzo. He played Rogers just so he could have some skin in the game.
Nice.
While he was watching it with us.
So FPL meetups are optimal, basically.
Absolutely. Then we are joined by a couple more friends. Kayur, who actually lives in Bombay, but he was there for a holiday, family holiday, just for that particular weekend. So it was great he could meet up, and FPL Bin as well. So we started the night at about 7:30 and we wound up only at about 12:30. So about
Nice.
4 or 5 hours of good fun, good drinking, lots of pizzas, lots of FPL talk, lots of gossip. It's just fantastic. And this is just something I love about FPL, right? It's people like you've never met in person before, all different cultures, never met. But when we are sitting and talking, because of how much we've interacted so much on almost a daily basis with some of them, some more so than others. For the last 2 years, it feels like you've known them for ages. It's just fantastic, right?
It's a very deep connection that you have, which is basically the commonality of football and FPL, and that you can just get into conversations so much quickly or quicker than you do otherwise. Like even here, the FPL meetups that these guys do, it's very easy to talk to anyone. So people who are actually listening, who haven't been to these, don't be shy, man. Like get out there. It's very, very nice.
It's the easiest icebreaker there literally is. There's so much to talk about. Like in general, when you talk about the amount of time that we spend on X or on Discord or just with the community or talking to each other, there's like so many things that we're talking about on a daily basis that our real life doesn't even know about. Like they don't know the kind of minute details or leaks or all that kind of absurd stuff that happens on X. And I think it's just great. It's great as an escape. And I always sometimes wonder which one is more real, because we definitely spend more time thinking about and doing the FPL stuff.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's a lot of fun and highly recommend it. I'm going to make the meetup channel in our Discord permanent now. So people I think we are planning a London meetup now, Plus, I think in the Discord.
Yep.
That's probably
Yep.
next on the agenda. And what the guys couldn't believe, that I met all these guys in Singapore and we haven't still met living in the same country.
I'll be in India again in April. This time we'll meet, man.
But this time we'll definitely make it happen. Cool. Let's do our sponsor plug and then jump right in to the main discussions today. I think the Saka topic is obviously a big one, but first, Fantasy Football Scout.
Or you're going to see a lot of tables on this podcast, and they're all from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. I've said it multiple times. Right now is the best time to get in there. And even if the Christmas period is about to end, there's going to be some amazing members articles coming with regards to chip strategy, etc. as well, which I think you just need access to, especially because I think it's a lot more complex and layered this season. So, it's a good time to join. Click on the link in the description below and become a member.
Let's get started then, guys. First up, we have the Rob T numbers. Fortunate to get this with a short turnaround now. Just a quick numbers for the guys on audio. Liverpool 3.65, probably one of the highest we've seen this season so far. I can't remember. I think even Ipswich, Man City was, I think, just about lower than this. Thereabouts.
It is one of the highest. Yeah, I don't know if it is the highest. I think the Southampton game, Man City Southampton, was a little higher. I think it was 3.7 from memory, but I can't be sure. But then what matters is goal share, right? So they will take Salah's, let's say 60% of this. So 60% of 3 points, this is going to turn out to be like 1.3, 1.4 expected goals for Salah in this game, which is the highest.
Yeah. And if Danny Ward is playing, then you might as well double that number because Danny
Yeah.
Ward ain't saving shit.
Exactly. And what the hell was the guy doing? And their replacement is Everson. Like the whole gang is back together. You remember the season where everyone, a lot of people started with Ward and Everson.
Oh man, the saves, I think even all the saves, I think it was catastrophic. It's generally one of the worst displays of goalkeeping I've seen in the Premier League this weekend.
Wolves didn't actually create that much.
1 XG.
They had what 0.8 XG if I'm not mistaken, and like 3 out of the 4 half chances were the 3 goals that happened, and they were genuine just half chances that bad. So a lot of people are talking about Ruth's terrible. I do think it's not the best appointment from Leicester, but Wolves genuinely didn't create that much. What was to blame for a lot of what happened? It also doesn't help that you have Vestergaard, who turns slower than probably you and I would, Zoph. So yeah.
I don't know. I felt there were another couple of chances. Of course, as a Cunha, when I was watching, he
could have
created
a
2
couple
big
more
chances.
assists. The one to Guedes. I know what you're talking about.
So, like, I felt like, okay, they could have done more. But, I mean, of course, I'm not talking FPL. But generally, I think there were still enough big chances here that you can guarantee Salah, if he plays 80 minutes, gets 3 big chances in this game. 3 big chances is like a given.
Absolutely. But Wolves in general do look a lot more structured than they did under Gary O'Neill. And even the post-game, the manager mentioned about how he wants his teams to be a bit more defensively resolute. And we spoke to Hassan in our Discord, who's been following the Saudi League, where he's come from a little bit. He's generally a manager who values defensive solidity very highly. And most of these Portuguese guys who have all grown up with the Mourinho inspiration generally do, right? So we can expect that. And I think we're going to see Nouri again again on the left. The next game as a left wing back. So if you've held on to Nouri, not a bad play, I think, the upcoming fixtures as well.
Right. Let's dive into Saka replacements. I think most of the people are looking for that. Do you think that's a good place to start?
Absolutely. I'll bring up the table here right now. This is sorted by NPXGI for the last 6 matches for midfielders at 10 million and under. And obviously, the Spurs game distorts this massively. You see Soboslai right at the top with 4.23. I think more than 60 to 70% of that came yesterday alone. So let's discount that. Some of the other numbers I'll just walk through for some of the audio guys. Sard is second, 3.57. You have a couple of the West Ham guys. Enzo is somebody I want to talk about because his positioning against the Everton game was very different from what we've seen the last few. Son features heavily. Gordon is up there. But in general, from what I've seen, there's no clear replacement. The template, I think, is diverging quite a bit. There's no one go-to player. So let's talk about some of the guys because I think it also matters now when we think that Cunha's may get banned over this week, that like it also need to fund an upgrade over there, right? So the replacements need to be kept in mind. And spoiler alert, Pras, you've gone early. Talk to us about
I've
Bruno.
already made my move. I knew who I wanted. So we'll discuss it. I won't be biased in my views, but I have a choice. I don't think he's clearly the best, but in my mind, he was better than others.
So tell me about why. I know you're not biased, but what made you make this? Because you're clearly confident enough to pull the trigger last night.
Look, I think firstly, I knew that we're not going to get much on Saka, right? I mean, any positive. If it was positive, Arteta would have said nothing today. And the game is on Friday. Like even if it was like 50-50, Arteta would have said, we'll see, right? So actually what we got today is clear negative, which is basically that he's out till end Feb or something, which is like, okay, long term, he's gone. So you need a replacement. And in fact, what we have learned today is you can also spread the funds because there was this feeling that if he's only out for 2-3 weeks, maybe you don't want to spread it too much. So we're going into an FPL ecosystem now in the next 10 weeks, let's say until Wildcard 2, where most teams will run with 2 premiers, which is Saka and Palmer. And the teams with actually Haaland in that system are clearly higher, like clearly above. So LR is sitting very happy in this situation, which where he's got the best third premium, or arguably the best premium in the next three. I'm not jinxing it for you, LR, don't worry. And so, look, but it is a good position to be in, right? Where the funds were, if that guy gets injured, other people have to sort of scramble and spread it around. But in a sense, what I feel is it is also a time when we talk about chip strategy and all the other things. In the next 10 weeks, you have to plan to make 6 transfers. That's it. Like, you have to think of it that robustly, because either you'll play the assistant manager chips, in which you need the transfers for that, or you will have double game weeks where you need transfers to get a Pickford or a third Liverpool, or you need transfers for blank game week 29 where Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal could all blank. So what I'm trying to say is, basically, in the next 10 weeks, my objective is 1 week punts, 2 week punts, 3 week punts. Not my cup of tea. Not for me. There are other people who want to do it. No problem. Play. I'm trying to take into account my style of play, my current rank, and I'm not here for like short-term punts. So my thinking was, which is the best third midfielder in the game for the next 10 weeks? And for me, that was Bruno Fernandes. Simple. Because I know what he gives me. His fixtures are maybe not the best in the next 3, but after that, he has Southampton at home in game week 21. And until game week 29, blank game week, he has Leicester. I've even mapped out till then. So for me, next 10 game weeks, he's the pick for me. And I don't want to move that position. If there's other places I can still do stuff, I'll still be able to do stuff. I can still get a Jackson if I want to for Cunha. I can still get a Guardiola or a Van Dijk as my third defender. So I don't need to mess around with a cheaper midfielder right now. But that is a very team-specific, structure-specific point.
I'm having a tough time now as a neutral getting a read on Manchester United. Obviously, I expected you guys to be on a bit of a high after the Derby win, but since then you guys have lost to Spurs and now lost to Bournemouth. Perhaps you're doing Bournemouth a bit of disservice. Bournemouth are a very good team, and Iraola, generally his specialty has been, even in La Liga, he did very well against the top sides. So perhaps we shouldn't read too much into the result this weekend. LR, where are you on Manchester United in general on the trajectory under Amorim?
I think we're on an upward trajectory. I thought the performance wasn't bad against Bournemouth yesterday. And especially Bruno and Ahmad. Like, everything good that Man United did, it was these two players that were at either the end of or creating the right chance. There was a lot of interplay between Bruno and Ahmad. So, what I'd say is he's fine. He looks good as a pick. Only thing, slight caveat is, I reckon about 30% of his minutes might be played as central midfielder. Because I do think that we looked pretty good with him as central midfielder. And I wonder if there is a case where Amorim stumbles upon Ahmad, Højlund and Garnacho being our favoured front three. So I think there will be some games where Ahmad, Garnacho and Højlund will be our favoured front three. The thing is, Bruno's a lot better as the right-sided 10 compared to the left-sided 10, just because he's got a great angle with his right foot on that pass there. So when he has to play as a right-sided 10, it probably means that Ahmad or somebody else will need to move at wing-back on that side as well. I don't think his best position is the left-sided 10. I think Garnacho's got a good chance of being the left-sided 10. That said, he looked good. He took 7 shots. The thing is, 5 shots from those 7 were from outside the box. But it's Bruno Fernandes. He's got the quality to hit those shots from inside the back of the net from that. So I don't think it's a bad pick. I have no problems for people going in there. Even if he plays in the 10, right? Even if he plays in the CM role, he's going to get chances. It doesn't mean that he's just going to be deep lying playmaking. He's going to get chances. And I reckon the next 3 tougher games, you'd think that he plays Ugarte and Menu in midfield and plays Bruno in the front three. And maybe Bruno, if he's shifting to central midfielder, it will probably be in the easier games where we would hope to have a lot more of the ball.
That's interesting. I thought it would be vice versa. I thought in the tougher games you'd prefer to have Bruno in midfield for control. But I haven't really watched Amorim's Manchester United enough to have a firm opinion. The fixtures now are Wolves away, Newcastle at home, Liverpool away, Southampton, Brighton and Fulham. Now we look at some of the stats. I think for these teams defensively, Wolves are second, but that's obviously mitigated heavily by the fixtures. But with the new manager, we do expect a bit of uptick in terms of defensive performance, new manager bounce, etc. Newcastle have tightened up significantly as well. I know they're not as good on the road, but again, they're a decent defense. And then you have Liverpool. Don't you think the short-term fixtures for Bruno are a little bit off-putting?
Yeah, I mean, I just did a piece for Scout and I'll give you my thoughts. with regards to Saka replacements. But I want to preface by saying my first priority, and if you're a Saka and a Cunha owner, or a striker that you're looking to sell, is given now that what Pras mentioned in terms of Saka being out for a long term, I would prioritize. That's what I told Pras first as well. Do you have money for Jackson in case you need it? Like, I would prioritize having money for Jackson and Isak. And Isak first priority, Jackson second priority, in that order if you don't have it. See how much money is left for your Saka replacement so that you have at least Isak in place, and if not Isak, Isak and Jackson in place. Like, I think those two strikers as a structure with a third striker of your choice, which should be Pedro, and with Pras on that as well, is better than whatever midfielder you're looking at. Because I don't think Bruno's clear. I think Jackson is clear as a striker in that price bracket. So that's how I feel about the situation.
In that aspect, there's also the Trent to entry point to consider, because this week is a great entry point for Trent. Going for somebody like an Ismail Assar potentially gives you money to go Trent and a Jackson or Isak. So that's something we all need to keep in mind as well. So what you guys are saying, that obviously the midfielders, there's no clear opinion, but see what the other moves, another area where you can upgrade. You have to look at your
That
team.
will determine a lot of the routes of where people go with Saka. Like, I think the first ripple effect of Saka being out is now Trent's, Isak. If anybody didn't have Salah or Palmer, their ownership zoom up, right? Everybody has them. Like, and if you don't have them, then you're taking a bet against like 40%, 50% plus EOs for these guys, because those are the first things people will try to fulfill. Then I think in midfield, third, fourth midfielder, second striker, those are up for grabs. So some people will want to go Jackson. Like, we should have a Jackson conversation separately, because I think it's okay to wait a couple of weeks for Jackson. We should have a Arsenal conversation on Arsenal. Who does it benefit or impact the most between the Arsenal mids and other alternatives? But you're absolutely right, Zoph. I think the first, or actually even LR made the point, the first thing is what else can you fix in your team by going? So it's not like you have to go for a like for like. You can go down as well to fund somebody else.
Yeah, so I think let's look at the picks in different brackets and let's create a short list. I think let's do like above 9 million first. And I think the name that really stands out, I don't think anyone is really looking at Heung-Min Son right now with the way Spurs are. You guys would agree with that?
Yep.
I don't think we need to talk about him, but I think Foden is one I want to spend a bit of time on. Now, the last game, he took a lot of shots, and what I noticed is that it was very selfish in terms of creatively. He offered nothing. Every time he was taking a shot, lot of pot shots. I think he had around 4 shots on target, one of the highest in the game week. And with KDB not even coming on when they're chasing the game, I think Foden's minutes, the general trend looks upward. But the problem is now the City leagues have completely dried up. Over the next 2 game weeks, we won't really have any idea if he starts. But the fixtures, right? Fixture-wise, you have to say City now have the best run over the next 5. It's Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, and Ipswich. But they just don't look functional right now. I just don't feel confident investing in Foden. LR, he's always been your boy. What do you think?
I've keenly seen a lot of City, right, being the only Haaland owner around. I've been watching 90 minutes of Man City football for the last 7-8 weeks. It's not looking good. Like, as somebody who has Haaland for the next 3 or 4 fixtures as well, I'm very much aware that a 15 million Haaland is also very much just a punt. Like, I have to hope that it works, because what's happening right now is it's not Foden, man. It's Foden. If you watch Grealish, it's Grealish. It's Savio. It's Doku. Except for De Bruyne, all these 4 attacking white players are looking to create some space and are taking a pot shot, man. Like, if you've seen, the numbers for Haaland have dried down drastically in the last 4 or 5 games. And that's because these creative players are being selfish. It's not looking like a functional unit at the moment. The only other guy who's capable of passing is De Bruyne, who's not playing. And then there's sometimes Pep plays Bernardo on the wing. And Bernardo is not capable of beating his player given his current age and skill set at the moment. So even with Foden's minutes, I don't feel particularly good or optimistic about it. Like, if you're getting Foden, it's throwing a dart and hoping to get lucky. Now, if I was throwing a dart and hoping to get lucky, I'd rather get an attacker whose minutes are as dodgy as Foden's are from the most functional attack in the league right now, which is Liverpool. That's
Or
where
Arsenal
my...
even.
Yeah. Not Jota. I would say Luis Diaz. I think Luis Diaz is much more fitter at the moment. He's much more... Given his current status of fitness, you'd say that at least there's no problem of an injury or a recurring injury or worry about Slot being cautious with the Diaz. With Diaz, I think you get the same buffet in terms of minutes. You expect maybe one benching in 3 or 4 games. But something that we spoke about when we saw Diaz's minutes is when he's starting now, he's getting 90 minutes. Like all his starts have been 85 plus minutes. So if I was taking a punt, I'd taken a punt on a Liverpool attacker, not a City one.
But as we discussed,
just on Liverpool.
Yeah, go ahead, Pras.
Sorry to interrupt. Like if you're going to Liverpool, let's stay on Foden, but let's come to it. Like I wouldn't touch Diaz. Like we can have a separate conversation on him. Like it's
Because
the time
of the
when
double.
Yeah, Jota is coming back. You don't want to pick the wrong Liverpool and get stuck with the third Liverpool, which you have to then take out. I wouldn't touch him this week. I don't even know if he starts this week.
My only argument to that is, Pras, and I thought about it, is top 2 picks are are Salah and Trent. That's fairly clear on the
Could
side.
be Slot as well. You never know.
Yeah, if you don't want to use the chip on Asman in 24 on Slot, I reckon that your third pick is likely going to be a midfielder anyway. Whether that's
you can
Jota
get
or
Van Dijk,
Diaz.
you can get Alisson.
Yeah, but I feel like the highest upside pick, because it's Bournemouth away and Everton away. How confident are you of a clean sheet against Bournemouth? I don't think it's a standout pick. I'd much rather punt on an attacker. So I reckon if I'm rolling the dice, I'm fine with a midfielder anyway, because if I go wrong with Diaz and Jota as the pick, I also think the chances of going wrong with Diaz are very, very low. He's first choice as left winger. He's going to play 1 and 3, and that's what he's going to be benched in 1 and 3. And I don't think that's going to change in the purview of the next 15 game weeks. So,
but not everybody can be benched 1 in 3. Like Jota has been, as we know, is the first choice 9 once he comes back up to fitness. Gakpo is playing really well. Like he keeps getting games under him. Not all of them can miss 1 in 3. Like
Diaz
2 of them have to miss.
Diaz isn't even in my top 5 replacements, by the way, for Saka. But if I was going for a punt, I wouldn't touch a City midfielder. I would touch a Liverpool one.
We can have a separate discussion, but I think I would put, if I'm putting Foden in that bracket of you're playing a player with some upside and some rotation risk, I would put Arsenal mids or Arsenal attacker, like called Jesus, above. Then I would have maybe a Foden, or I would have him similar as a Diaz or a Gakpo, if you have a little bit more conviction, or a Jota. But that's why, I mean, we're in a very weird place where like Foden could have been the obvious replacement, but nobody is looking at him because he's a definite transfer out. That's the other thing. Like you can't.
Why, Pras?
Like if you.
Why is he a definite transfer out?
Well, because in 4-5 weeks after that they play consecutively. Have you seen their fixtures after Gameweek 20?
Of course, they have played the big dogs, but by then
Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, and Nottingham Forest away, 6 in a row. He's a definite transfer out. You're not putting 9.5 million on those fixtures.
See, the thing is, if we get the Foden of last season, and of course it's a bit of a stretch, then not necessarily, but you're gambling. It's a bit of a gamble in that sense, and I think City are going to strengthen heavily in January. I think they will be a better team when those fixtures come around, but then again, it's a bit of a shot in the dark. I have seen some glimpses of Foden that he is getting back to that level, I think now. Maybe again a bit optimistic, but I think if I was punting, I would go there more likely than the Liverpool guys, because I'm pretty confident you will get the starts, I think, over Everton, Leicester, West Ham.
With I'm Liverpool not sure, guys, Zoph, because I think he's still competing with KDB for that position. Jack played on the left, and I actually thought Jack was City's brightest attacker in the previous game. And he played Grealish centrally one game, and then reverted it back. But it's pretty obvious that Gundogan alone doesn't have the legs, or Kovacic alone doesn't have the legs to play as the two midfielders. So I reckon he plays Kovacic and Gundogan together, and one of KDB or Foden plays. And then he gives the little more license to the other one that's playing. So that's my issue. I'm not bullish on Foden.
I get your point, and also funny story is when we asked Varun to pick up the thumbnails for our team selection video, I asked him to choose Foden, and he's like, I can't find a single photo of Foden celebrating this season.
That's hilarious.
So I get the point which you guys are making with Liverpool, guys. Plus, if you remember, we discussed the last spot. They have one of the shortest turnarounds between 18 and 19, only 67.5 hours. So I think whichever Liverpool mid you pick, I think you can't say guaranteed, but I would say it's extremely likely that they would miss one of the next two games.
This is why I'm not keen on a Liverpool mid at all. Like, by the way, if there was a player that you could say you get for guarantee Leicester at home, which we've looked at what the expected goals are, I can't even call like who's your top three who starts, Salah and which other two. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue.
It could be Darwin Jota. It could be
It could be Gakpo Darwin, it could be Gakpo Jota, it could be Diaz Jota, like it could be any bloody thing. And so you start off with a benching and then you get into a tricky congested fixture period. Yeah, if people like to gamble, go for it. Like, but it's just not my kind of pick. I don't want another problem next week when there's other upside picks. Next week, Mateta is home to Southampton. Munoz becomes the clear defender pick next week. Yet you are here dealing with a benched Diaz. Like,
Pras. I will not put people off though, because the upside with a Liverpool attacker against Leicester at home isn't comparable to Mateta / Munoz, who against whoever. It's just the most functional, best attack in the league. And if you get lucky with a Diaz or a Jota start, I don't think a Jota. I don't know, man. Like you said, we don't know. It's just genuine race potential. Fine. It's a dart throw.
Yeah.
The point I was making with Foden is I feel like the Liverpool made is just a better dart throw than a dysfunctional City one. I do want to come to my favorite replacement though, and I think it's a little bit underplayed. Zoph was showing me the transfers in for top 10 Saka replacements, and he was not there in the top 10, which surprised me a little. And I think it's Anthony Gordon. I genuinely think here Newcastle are hitting a good stride at the moment. They're a little bit of a momentum team at the moment. I think they're sitting 5th for XG in the last 6. Eddie Howe's mentioned how he's made certain adjustments, whether that's playing Tonali as the deep lying 6 and Bruno Guimaraes further forward, who's creatively pretty decent as well, and that left hand side triangle with Joelinton, Hall and Gordon, finding that balance with Murphy on the right. I think it's all coming together at the minute, and I think it's just outcome bias because of which Gordon isn't in the top few transfers. I think if he had just one more goal in the last 2 games, which he had many chances
very
for,
very close he was,
he would have been top 3 transfer replacements for Bukayo Saka. Like, he ticks every box that you guys, in terms of risk-averse managers would want. Nailed on. Like, the only rest he got was because of genuine congestion and fatigue, which Eddie Howe mentioned. Good fixtures, very attacking. He's got 11 goals and 16 assists last season. Let's not forget that. Like, he's been there, done there kind of pick as well. And Newcastle are on upward trajectory. Like, the next 3 fixtures are slightly dodgy,
which is good for his minutes though.
Yeah.
The fact
Villa
that they're
United.
tough fixtures, that means he is going to play those 3 games.
And Villa and United aren't AC Milan, right? Like, it's still good fixtures. Yeah. After that, the run reads
Not Tottenham. I'm surprised he left Tottenham out of that.
Because Spurs is a good fixture. After that, it reads Spurs, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, City. It's a great run. You're good for minutes. He's my favorite pick as a Saka replacement.
He's still taking the set pieces, right? Again, the route to points is there with Gordon.
He's much better pick than last year. And last year, people were calling him essential. He's a better pick than last year.
Yeah. In terms of the data, also, you see he's at about 3.02 NP XGI and he's got 3 returns. Where you see other guys who are like at 3.3 and they've got 6. So I see exactly where you're coming from, Ella. In terms of he's actually underperformed. Do you expect this to catch up in the weeks that are coming?
I mean, Zoph and I were having a chat, Pras, and I know that Gordon's Zoph's boy. Last year there was a huge uptick in Zoph's rank in the last 10 game weeks, and he's done well for him. I was trying to push him towards this. So all I told him is watch the highlights for the last 2 games before you come on the pod. I'm sure Zoph will do that before the deadline.
But last 2 games were Ipswich and Leicester. This is the only caveat. If you watch the highlights for that and you don't own Isak, you'll actually come back and say, okay, I'm glad he only scored a hat-trick and a brace. Like that's literally, true. Like those 2 games were ridiculous.
That's true. But in general, just looks solid, Like, you don't want a punt. You want good fixtures. You want minutes, good attacker, decent price. I think he ticks those boxes for me.
So from the summary of what I can understand on the plus 8 guys, Bruno, I think, is favored by both of you.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have a chat on Odegaard or Arsenal.
Yeah, we should actually. Odegaard, the thing is now, this is again last 6 matches. Stats-wise, NPXG 0.91. XA is still decent of 1.27, but I think Arsenal will now have to change the way they play a little bit, and Arteta mentioned that. It's just too dependent on the right side, so maybe Odegaard now has to take on more of a creative and goal-scoring burden. We just don't know. But aren't there better picks at cheaper prices like your Martinelli and maybe even Trossard, who might see more minutes?
So let me just give a little bit of overview of why there is some Odegaard love in the community, right? So the first one is basically that he will take over penalties. That's the clear one. Second is he is the only other left-footed midfielder. So when Saka goes, last game, 2 corners they had, he took both of them from the Saka side, the right hand side. So basically, he's taking over a lot of the eye test stuff, right? So he's taking over the set pieces and penalties. I think the other thing is that it's a price where you can get him for the next 3-4 weeks, and then you can move to Bruno. So if you're okay making one transfer, you talked about Bruno's next 3 not being great. Actually, Odegaard's are very good. So he gets Ipswich at home, and then you move to Bruno. It's a nice entry point into Bruno in 3 weeks. So this is the reason why people are looking at him. The reason why I don't like him particularly, especially when compared to Bruno, it's a transfer. Because if you're going to go Odegaard to Bruno, I will just go Bruno now. Second thing is, I think let's just understand how Arsenal will play, right? Jesus is right now in the form of his life, even though it's just 2 games, but it sounds like he's a very streaky guy. Arteta is saying after the game that I can't drop him when he's playing like this. So let's understand, if Jesus plays up top, then where does Havertz play? Havertz plays as the left 8, which he played in the last game. So let's understand, if Havertz plays left 8, that has never been great for Odegaard. Because you can't have 2 gung-ho players, right? Especially in the games after Ipswich that they have. They will not both be gung-ho. You already have Martinelli playing instead of Saka, let's assume, who is not as disciplined. He's never as loved as Saka, because Saka is he's up and down the whole game, right? Martinelli 60 minutes is taken off because he starts to tire. So all of this tells me that we are working off zero information. We've never known Arsenal without Saka for a long time. That all of it tells me that Odegaard may not be the most forward, because there are all these other guys who are a little bit more, they call it, firecracker type players. Like they will be very good, like Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz, all playing together. I think Odegaard has to little bit sit back. So this is why based on what I know now, Odegaard feels like an okay pick, but he's not close to Bruno in my eyes. If you wanted to go for a Arsenal pick, for me it's Martinelli or Jesus. At least that's where I am.
I'm with Pras, and I'll just add a little bit of layered reasoning to what Pras said as well, right? Firstly, if you need to watch the game, Martinelli was really good on the right hand side for Arsenal. He posted 1+ NPXGI in those 65-70 minutes on the right hand side. He played the whole game, but he was really good. Trossard played on the left and Martinelli played on the right. Arteta actually in the press conference today laid out huge praise to Martinelli. He was asked on whether Martinelli could fill the void. This is what he has said. Yeah, that's the first one. I like that he said that's the first one, especially because he's played there before. He played there against Everton in the last match of the season. He did really well the other day. He scored a goal and created an assist, and is a good option to have. Now, that's layer 1. And I genuinely think it increases Martinelli's expected minutes because he can play either on the left or on the right. Second is the matchups. Like you've got Ipswich at home, which is probably, and we've spoken to a lot of our Arsenal fans at the Discord, right? Odegaard is always the Southampton at home, Ipswich at home, sort of control-y sort of games where there'll be a cutback. Arsenal will have 75% possession, and cutbacks is where Odegaard does his business in terms of, putting the ball at the back of the net. After Ipswich at home, which I don't think is a very heavy control game as well, because Ipswich will at least make you walk, and it's a little more transition game than a Southampton at home, for example. You've got Brentford away, Brighton away, Spurs away. Whatever, Spurs at home. These 3 are heavy transition games. They will need Martinelli's space and they will need Gabriel Jesus' space. And I think they suit Martinelli's skill set quite significantly and comfortably, which is why if I was going for an Arsenal midfielder, I'd be punting on Martinelli. So I'm with Pras on this. That's my reason.
I concur. I think but in general, I'm not enamored by the Arsenal attackers, because in what we've seen now, they've not been creating. Of course, the Palace game, they did score 5. The XG numbers for Arsenal have been generally trending lower in open play, right?
Yeah, but see, Zoph, they paid Joe Pesci and Everton. So, before the before the Palace game, it was Everton and Fulham, which we've now come to know aren't easy fixtures for opposition. It's genuinely difficult to create too many chances against the opposition in the past. I think the fixtures now coming are way better for their attack than they're for their defenders. Like Brighton, we know now concede big chances. Brentford, highest number of goals in that stadium this season. And then there's Spurs. Need I say more? It's meant for goals, these 3 games.
It's the worst time Saka has gone. Seriously, like this was the run for him.
Hands up, as a Haaland owner, I lucked out. Like I'd much rather take on Odegaard or Bruno or whoever else compared to Saka in these 3 games.
Truth.
I mean, I just want to say in the chat, like, it's not like Odegaard, I'm not sort of dishing him as much. Like, it's not like Havertz will always play in the left 8. He will get forward. He is a good pick, especially with penalties and free kicks and corners or whatever. But I just feel like, yeah, Martinelli is right there. Like, I'm quite tempted by Martinelli or Jesus. Like, that could be my second free transfer because upside is there for an Arsenal attacker. Arsenal should still win these games. Somebody will score goals. We just don't know. It's a little bit of a punt, but I feel it's a better punt than a Liverpool punt because the minutes feel more secure than the other guys. But yeah, if you hit the dart for the Liverpool guy, you could get a hat trick in this one game week.
And you're right. You don't have to save a slot for an Arsenal pick now for a while. So that eases up the tension a little bit.
Yep.
Well, there's a counter to that, small counter. In the assistant manager chip, basically the best play would have been that you have Game Week 24, either Daesh or slot. Game Week 25, either Daesh or slot. Game Week 26, home to West Ham, you would make a transfer and get an Arteta. That is basically the optimal, basically the highest upside, at least in the predicted points. So there is actually a theory to say it's not the end of the world if you have a free Arsenal slot, if you start to think about an assistant manager chip in Game Week 24. But this is all a little bit far out and you don't need to think about it too much. If you see upside, go for upside.
The Spurs mids now, let's talk about them a little bit. It's quite interesting because they all stack up quite nicely in terms of the stats. Maddison especially, but there's just too much rotation there. And we were talking to Baker before we got on. Bentancur is available now, which makes it quite tricky. In fact, one of these guys is always going to miss out. Kulu's never missing out. It's going to be Maddison, Johnson. Even Maddison yesterday, while chasing the game, got subbed off before 60 minutes despite scoring a goal. So any of the Spurs mid interest you guys? Not for me.
The thing is, the next 5 fixtures, 4 of them are against Forest, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Everton. 4 of the better defenses so far this season. So that's what puts me off with Spurs attackers.
The goals are shared too much. Like, I think we're coming to a time where probably Kulusevski is the best pick, and he's not that great. Like, he's good because Johnson doesn't get minutes. Maddison keeps scoring, but Postecoglou doesn't like Maddison. Like, he keeps coming off. Even the game he scored against Liverpool, he came off on the 52nd minute or something. He doesn't start some games. Son is not worth his price. Solanke, he keeps coming up in conversation. He scores when you least expect it. So I'm not that enamored.
Yeah, it's not a great bunch. And the Chelsea midfielders, there's nobody you can really say, your Madueke, Kane, Neto, Sancho's. There's nobody investable besides your Enzo and Palmer. So even Chelsea are a bit of a no-go despite the fixtures being great. Okay, let's go back to the ticker again to narrow down some picks. Now, somebody who is at the top are Palace, Bournemouth, Southampton, Chelsea, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford. What do we think of Ismaila Sarr? He's who I am looking at in particular as my replacement because just offers a lot of flexibility. Let's say Foden looks absolute fire against Everton. It allows me to go Boomo to Foden the week after. It gives you more flexibility for general moves down the line for the next bandwagon that emerges, and the numbers have been great. With the fixtures have not been that great in terms of we're talking about the other teams. A lot of the numbers are inflated. For example, Gordon, like Pras rightly mentioned, the numbers are inflated by the last 2. Sarr has had difficult fixtures and now the run improves. If is it a case of just that we now have so much money to spend that we don't want to go for a guy who's 5.7? Is that sort of mentality also there?
Absolutely that. The 5-1 Arsenal Palace scoreline glossed over or rather undermined Palace's performance. They were a lot better than what the scoreline indicates. They created a fair amount of chances, gave Arsenal a lot of trouble. In fact, Arteta said that he had to adjust and put Rice in place. He had Havertz as one of the midfielders. He had to get Rice in there to add some more stability because Palace caused some problems. You're right. It's negative price bias. Like, there's no reason to not go for Sarr as a pick. He's done it for a while and he showed it. There's negative price bias. Completely fine as a pick. Good pick in my top 5 replacements in my top 5 options as a Saka replacement.
Because a lot of people also think they've got your Enzos, Amads in already. So this reluctance to sort of get another midfielder in that same price bracket. But I really don't think that should play into it. A good player who's sort of becoming the talisman for that team now, more so than Eze. Eze is obviously still creating a lot, but in terms of the goal threat, he is getting a lot of it. But there are some early subs happening, right? I haven't followed it very closely. I'm going to look at it later.
Not for Sarr.
Not for Sarr?
Yeah, but there's been a little bit of game state with Sarr, which is just not to put people away, because I completely agree with you guys. He's probably a great, with also a caveat that 3 weeks ago, Enzo was the great 5 million pick. Last week, Ahmad was the great 5 million pick. This week, Rodgers and Sarr are the great 5 million pick. So with that caveat, I just want to say, I think Palace is their team to basically buy into next week. This week away to Bournemouth, not a great entry point, but if you have to do it this week, it's not the end of the world. And the game state I'm talking about is Eze has been having a little bit of an injury issue. So he came off on the 59th minute a couple of games. Mateta had a little bit of an issue, or he was rested for the Arsenal game. Otherwise, Mateta has played 90 minutes pretty much every game. So Sarr has ended up playing all the minutes. And what was also interesting in the last game, even though Eze was out, he chose not to go with the Nketiah and Mateta setup, which was basically the downfall of Palace at the beginning of the season. So he chose to go Kamada plus Sarr and Mateta. So I think these factors all point to the fact that Sarr seems pretty secure, because the only threat to Sarr is basically Nketiah starting with Eze and Mateta, which doesn't look like happening.
I'll just read
Sarr
out,
seems perfectly secure.
I read out Glasner's quote on Sarr, which was quite good. Like he said, he's in great shape. He had 2 big chances straight in after halftime, and getting the second, maybe you're back again. And this is also what top teams are doing. They get 1 chance and then game over with the 4th goal. The efficiency was outstanding from Arsenal. Ismaila, though, is getting better and better, and we are really delighted with his performance. And he's been singing Sarr's praises now 3 games in a row. I was actually just on the FPL page and looking at his numbers. We have data for the last 6 games. This is XGI against opposition since Gameweek 10. 0.5 against Wolves, 0.4 against Fulham, 0.8 against Villa, 1 against Newcastle, 0.05 against Ipswich, 0.18 against City, 0.1 against Brighton, and 0.6 against Arsenal. Those are some pretty good numbers, man.
It can't be 0.1 against Brighton. I'm sure it wasn't 1.1.
0.99 it says. That's why I rounded off like Pras said.
Oh, so this is 1. Yes, you said 0.1.
So 1.
I
Yeah.
got confused.
Yeah, one. So he's doing well, man. And like the only slight worry I would have is that he's faced tougher opposition in the last 6 or 7 games. So you would think that Palace's greatest outlet would be on the break in transition. So I wonder, against the easier opposition where they have slightly more of the ball, his skill set might not be used as much. But I do think he's an underrated header of the ball as well. We've seen he's been quite a threat on set pieces as well. So I think he's a great pick.
I mean,
And I think he's significantly better than Ahmad and Enzo, like 4.6 more.
I'm not sure about Ahmad, but Enzo, yes.
Yes.
Ahmad
Enzo, like we
still
saw
has
the
the
last
ceiling.
game, is very position and team dependent. Like Enzo, I don't think he had a single penalty box touch last game, but playing much more deeper, which might or may not be the case going forward. We don't know. Enzo is very opposition dependent on where he'll set up. But now,
I think that was mainly Cucurella. Like the fact that Cucurella was suspended, because he's your prime, not just Cucurella, even who's the third midfielder that you have who generally plays on the right hand side? Lavia. So what happens is these are the 2 prime guys who play. Casido plays as right back, or Cucurella plays as left back when Enzo and Lavia are playing in midfield. So what happens? Either Casido takes a role inverting in midfield, which pushes Enzo forward, or Cucurella pushes into midfield, which pushes Enzo forward. The thing is, both of them were not available, which is why Enzo had to slightly hold back and they had to adjust the tactics. I think and now Cucurella's back, so I think we'll see Enzo again going back to the role, because those are the 2 only capable of inverting into a proper holding midfield role.
I mean, one thing I would say on Palace is that there is a luxury of 1 more game week to watch, because I think what we know now, and I think we will be in agreement with this, the number 1 pick from them is still Munoz. Like that guy, that with good fixtures, you probably want in. He will get attacking threat. He has clean sheet potential. I'm not yet sure who the second best pick is. It could be Mateta, it could be Sarr, or it could even be Eze if he's back. And I'm not 100%. So Sarr is not a bad pick. I think he's a great pick. And I would say probably in the 5 to 6 million bracket, the one to get this week or next week. But I also don't want to rule out others. And once you have Sarr, then you might hesitate. A bit like people have Ahmad right now and they're like, do I really want Bruno now? Because I'll have Ahmad and Bruno and I don't want that. So similar thing, if you go Sarr, you'll go, I don't want Mateta because I don't want Sarr and Mateta. So I just feel waiting, if possible, for another week, maybe for a little bit more info, may not be the bad thing with Palace.
But the thing is, Pras, now with Munoz, or take your team, for example, or most of our teams now, most of us have at least 1 Arsenal defender, if not 2. And we're also getting Trent, if not, and most of us invested in Robinson last week. Now, you're most likely Robinson, okay, this week he has Chelsea, but after that, right, you're going to be playing Robinson for Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, even Manchester United at home. You're never benching your Arsenal guys. You're never benching Trent. So effectively, when are you going to play Munoz over Robinson when you have, let's say, that
I
trio?
don't want to play. I don't have to play Robinson home to Bournemouth when Munoz has home to Southampton. I don't have to play him home to Man United. He could do fine, but I'm saying again, I'm making a transfer so that I have to not make any further transfers.
Right,
If
but
there is
again,
an injury,
it's a bit contradictory to that point, right? In terms of transfers being precious when you can roll with these three guys going forward.
yeah, but this, I mean, Robinson isn't great forever. He has then Newcastle, then Nottingham Forest. So, I mean, he's
But
okay.
the good run, actually for
I just
Robinson
see
ends at a
upside.
similar time as it does for Palace. What I do like, for example, is somebody like a Hall. Let's say you buy him now, he has Villa, right? When this Robinson run sorts of tails off, that's when Hall's good run starts in that sense.
I just think I had checked now. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, even Karan is saying Munoz rotates very well with Robinson. Like apart from this Bournemouth home game where they both have a good fixture, arguably I'll bench Robinson home to Bournemouth. Bournemouth look very very good. After that, they rotate really well. When he has Man United and Newcastle, Munoz has good fixtures, and I don't mind four good defenders, man. And actually, speaking now, are you confident Sarr scores more goals, more points, FPL points than Munoz? I'm not too sure.
I think he does.
Like it's a different. Like you compare your Munoz to your other defenders, and I think you compare Sarr to your other midfielders. And like the point that you made about Sarr, is he the best Palace pick? Like, I don't know how to explain this. It's like if Salah, Jota, and Diaz were nailed. Let's say they were nailed Palace attackers. That's what we probably know about Palace, right? That these three are nailed. The points might be fairly shared in terms of not being a clear talisman emergence. I think, like, whatever be the case, what are you going to say? If Mateta scores a goal assisted by SA, is that going to put you off Sarr, given the numbers I just cited about Sarr in the last 7 or 8 weeks, right? Like, I don't think the fact that Sarr is a good pick is going to change. That's all. Yeah, but with SA, the one big thing is you get penalties. And when SA is on it, he's a premium sort of player. The fact is he's been working with a few injuries. So I get why you want to wait for Sarr. But, like, this is for people that have not moved on to Bruno and are looking to replace Saka tonight or tomorrow. That's all.
No, you can get Sarr. I had no issues. I mean, I think the discussion was on Munoz versus Sarr, but I think as Sarr, he's a great pick.
Some other names on this list I just want to talk. Is Diallo? Now, Diallo and Bruno, there's about a 3 million price difference. Is Bruno worth that? What do you guys think? Worth 3 million? No, it's a lot of money.
The thing is, I'm still confident about Bruno not being dropped, no matter what the case. However good Ahmad has been, there is still a significant amount of competition in the places. Like he's still young. He's not young. He's 23, but like minutes will never be more nailed for anybody compared to Bruno Fernandes in this United squad.
That's absolutely certain, especially for this busy period is probably what's luring me towards Bruno. If you're on a regular schedule, I would say I can go without Bruno to some of the other guys. Just a certainty of minutes now over the next 3 games it's the big lure for him.
And like with you guys, right? Like that have no Haaland, money is there to spend. Spend it.
No, but it's also then again I need to upgrade now. For example, I have a Strand last. If I want to take him to a Jackson, Bruno completely kills that. Somebody wants to go to a Trent, Bruno completely kills that. So it's again a combination of transfers you have to look at.
I would prioritize Jackson over Bruno if that was the comparison. It's pretty clear in my head that after Isak, Jackson is the best attacker to have over other Saka midfielder replacements.
Long term.
This short next to there's a problem with Jackson, right? You never know.
Pras, you can't say long term for Jackson and then say I'm picking Bruno for long term, ignoring the next 3. It's long term.
No. But Bruno will not miss a game. I'm saying I'm picking Bruno because he may not get a return. He could still get a return, right? With Jackson, he's gonna. I mean, what do you guys think? He's gonna miss one of the next 2 games.
Very likely to miss one of the next.
Can I just say something with regards to the Jackson missing minutes thing also? Like this one thing that maybe makes me think it's a little overplayed is Chelsea are in a title race and they just dropped 2 points to Everton and they can't afford to drop any more points if they are going to stay in the title race. Now, whatever Maresca says in terms of no, we are not in a title race, etc., Jackson's their first choice striker. They just dropped 2 points to Everton. They need to win every game.
Why did they take him off then? They were not. It was 0-0. If he's their first choice and he needs them,
He was
took him
trying
off on the
something
70th
different.
minute.
Yeah, but he was trying something tactically. He's first choice, man. He started the.
No, he's definitely first choice. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is Maresca will not, he will not go nuclear like he went with Southampton, right? Even changing Sanchez and Colville. I don't think he'll
Yeah.
go nuclear. But
Yeah.
I think he has said in the past that he will rotate the team when the games are thick and fast. And so either Jackson gets a fifth yellow, which I don't think the risk is gone to almost zero now because he's playing sensibly. You can see it in his play. He's being sensible about arguments. Even in his tackles, I watch him very carefully as a
There was
non-owner.
one
I'm
tackle
like,
he
come
got
on,
very
man.
lucky with.
Come on, man. Just do it, man. Just make it easier for me next game. But he's not. He's being very careful. But Maresca will do it, man. Like, let's say there's a more than 50% chance that he misses one of the next two games. Is that too much?
No, I completely agree
Okay.
with you, Pras. It's a squad harmony thing, more so than as much as chasing the title thing. And I think the benching will happen, is more likely to happen versus Ipswich, because we've seen how good Fulham has been against the bigger sides. I think we can beat Ipswich without Jackson.
So I pose a question to you guys. Okay, let's say Cunha is announced banned tonight or tomorrow before the game week 18 deadline, and now you need to replace Cunha as well. So will that put you off replacing Cunha with Jackson, given you have to do it? Zoph doesn't have that question in front of him, but a lot of people do have that question in front of him, which is why I'm asking that
No,
question.
I have Strand Larson, so I do have the
Exactly.
question in front of him. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much so. So, but the thing is
That's a question.
No, I
is
could
cause-
do Jackson. I could if Cunha is 100% banned, then I could do it. And I would take a benching because then my other type of thinking is same as Bruno. I want Jackson long term. I think from
Exactly
game week
that.
21, he's the player to get. And actually, one positive about it is when he misses, he probably doesn't even come on, right? So if you have a
the
deep
risk
enough
of
squad,
yellow, you're actually
Exactly.
making a good point. For example, the Ipswich game now, that's the 19th game. Why risk bringing him on to getting a yellow card and then miss the one game in game week 20? So that's a
Exactly.
good point to make. In 19, if he's benched, he probably doesn't come on unless we need a goal to chase.
And
the
game
game.
week 19, I've got players who are all happy, man. Like Rogers is home to Brighton, Enzo is away to Ipswich. I don't mind if he misses. So that's a whole different question, Ella. One is if you had to go for a player now because you're forced to, then sure. But I just feel you don't have to jump on Jackson. Wait another 2 weeks. After that, Jackson is a great pick. But then Mateta is also a great pick from next week.
It's just that Jackson's far superior to anybody else in the striker bracket, bar Isak, in my opinion. That's the point. And I think Jackson is a better pick than Bruno Fernandes. Like, that's the point. Because Zoph has to choose between the two. If he gets Bruno, he can't get Jackson.
But I can get Chris Wood.
Yes, but I think Jackson is superior. So I'm just giving my opinion.
I mean, we're digressing from the Saka replacement, but it does tie in, Pras. Where are you
It ties
on
in.
Chris Wood?
It ties in.
On Chris Wood versus Jackson.
No, Jackson. Where I am on a striker slot, because I have Cunha, so I'm right in the eye of the storm. If Cunha is missing this week, then I have to make a transfer. I will make a transfer. And I think if I'm staying low in price, I'm going to do more research. We're going to see what people think, what fans think. I'm more tempted by then a Jesus for a couple of weeks and then a Jackson. In this case, in this slot, than actually going for a Chris Wood. Because like Chris Wood, man,
I love that Pras.
look at his fixtures for the next 3 games. Next 10 weeks. And I have every transfer I'm getting, I don't intend to move them out. Unless it is a specific punt where it is somebody like a Jesus. I have a very big crush on Arsenal strikers when they're cheap and nailed, as you remember with Nketiah. So, and Jesus. I have great memories with Jesus. I just think for 2 weeks that I would do rather than just going for a Chris Wood for 10 weeks because I don't believe in the guy, man. He will blank 2 times and I will stop. I will think about moving him out. Whereas for Jackson, I'll get him in. I will not move him out because I know that it's a great team with great fixtures. So, and by the way, why I'm talking about Jesus and I'm contradicting the long-term transfers is I could even think of a structure where I do Cunha to Jesus. And let's say Jesus works out and I'm getting the points. I can do João Pedro to Jackson. I have the money. So I don't have to actually just stick and I have to say Jesus is only short term. He could become long term. Whereas in other cases where people are going for like a Jota or even a Diaz, I don't think those are guaranteed long term. Jesus could become long term.
Yeah, and you're seeing that as a position in which you're happy to move around, right? Like it completely depends on squad robustness, like you mentioned. So you can say that this is where I want to park Bruno, so it allows me to play around with this spot, and that's completely okay. That's all.
Exactly it.
And I bloody love it, by the way. Especially for you with the history with the Arsenal strikers, because I can't not see goals in Ipswich, Brentford, Brighton, Spurs. There are goals there. The goal's there.
That's a good point. Yeah, so the fixtures for Chris Wood, for the audio listeners, are Tottenham at home, Everton away.
Which is great.
Tottenham is away, Everton away, not great. Wolves, bit hard to read, but you say it's all right. Then it's Liverpool, Southampton, and Bournemouth. But we just cannot ignore the fact that they're fourth in the table.
Yeah.
Forest are legit.
And he should have had minimum a goal, if not two, this week also. He lucked
this
out.
week. Exactly. So I think towards Forest, we just keep turning a bit of a blind eye on them, particularly on this spot. And I think we are underrating Chris Wood a little
But keep
bit.
going, Zoph. Keep going with Wood, because all I'm trying to say is that
Okay.
this is the other reason we are not getting Wood. Keep going with him, because after Southampton, which is great. So I think there's two great fixtures here: Spurs at home and Southampton at home. After that, Bournemouth away, right? Okay, Brighton home also good. Fulham away, not good. Newcastle away, not good. Arsenal home, not good. Man City home, you would think by March Man City are slightly better than what they are now. So I'm just saying they have Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Bournemouth away, Liverpool, Everton away in this period.
Yeah, I'm with you, Pras. It's never a clean row of greens. Like, I think if you miss out on this entry point, you're thinking they're playing Everton away and Wolves in the 2 out of the next 4. Then you're looking at the entry point in 22, which is good for 3. Southampton home, Bournemouth away, Brighton
Bournemouth
home.
away is tough, man.
It's tough.
Yeah, in terms of entry point. After that, it's tough. So I'm with Pras. I think you can take it on.
Fair enough. Just to round up, I think let's talk about fish and chips. Boomo. Nobody is going there, right, with those fixtures?
Can do
Right.
when he plays Southampton again. So, like, again, I've got Bruno. I still have the money. I can do Enzo to Mbumo now. But I won't. Like, let him play the next 2 and then we'll see. I don't think you have to go back to him. If you have him, you can keep him. And the discussion will stay the same forever.
Yeah, he's a good pick.
Yeah,
That's all. He's a good pick.
But you can't get behind buying him. Or even the West Ham guys we saw were quite high on those XGI tables. But after Southampton is Liverpool, Man City, Fulham.
You know, I wouldn't be against people who want to buy him. Let me just say it, because the tough fixtures that Boomo have are all at the G-Tech. They've got Arsenal at home, City at home, and Liverpool at home. At home. Like, I don't mind it. The away fixtures are Brighton, Southampton. So, if I was to build a narrative and we're all building stories here, I wouldn't put anybody off him, but he wouldn't be in my top 5 replacements.
Yes.
I
that's
think
a
Gordon's
fair thing.
better for the same price.
Let's round up, boys. Top 3 picks. I think we've discussed pretty much everyone.
Let's do
there.
top 3 above 7 and top 3 below 7.
Cool. Fair enough. LR, you would like to go first?
Gordon, Bruno, Diaz.
No, Foden. Fair enough.
Is Martinelli above 7?
I think he's
No,
just
he's below actually.
6.7.
6.7.
So
Let's do above
even.
6.5. Let's include him.
No.
in that.
Give me Martinelli as the top pick.
I mean,
in below 7.
comparing Martinelli to Sarr and Semenyo and Rogers is a disrespect, man.
It's true.
But it's the price.
Still $1.5 million. But okay, fine. I mean, okay, let me throw Martinelli in. Would he be in your top 3 above these guys that you named?
Difficult to say. I think I'd rather punt on Jesus, I think, right now. Just in terms
Martinelli
of
would be in my
hot
top
streak.
3.
Martinelli would be in your top 3?
Yeah, because I think his minutes are better than Diaz's.
Yeah. I'm not on board the Diaz. I don't feel the Diaz hype. Plus, you above 7? That's about 6.5.
I have picked Bruno, so I can't now change my answer. So Bruno would be my number 1. I would still say Martinelli too. Now, I have to calm down a little bit. Like, now we've bigged up Martinelli and Jesus a little bit. Arteta in today's press conference did say that there are other people who can play in these positions. Who's that kid? Nwaneri?
Yeah.
He can play on the right as well. You could have a setup easily where you play basically Jesus on the wings. So Havertz up top, Jesus on the left, and Trossard. So it's not like minutes are ironclad secure, right? But it looks like it should be. And
It's Mikel Arteta, Pras. Like,
he's not going to give away his team.
Yeah, and he's not going to gamble. He's not going to start Nuneri however he does.
Exactly. I mean, but the thing is, the reason why I think this pod generally is higher on Arsenal midfielders is because it's not just a weak punt. It's not a 2-week punt. It could turn out to be a long-term good thing, because now we know Saka's out till March. So it could be that person nails down the position.
And we see as the next 4 games as all 2+ goal games for us.
Yes.
And speaking of which, by the way, I'm digressing. We didn't talk about Havertz. It's open.
It is as a forward, but would you go there over Jesus right now?
No, not right now.
It's tough, yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I would. Because Jesus' advantage is he can also play on the right. I think that...
Or even left. He played for Man
I
City
think
on the left.
there was a couple of games when Saka missed out. I think Jesus played on the wing,
Yes.
if I remember.
Yeah. That's actually the threat. Huh? It could be... That's actually a threat to Martinelli, where Jesus right, Howard central is something that can happen in a random game.
It's all performance dependent with those guys now.
Uh,
And the other
Yeah.
guys. Even
But then
Trossard, you
Martinelli
never know.
goes to the left. So Martinelli's got variability in terms of his versatility.
So I think my picks above 6.5, I would go Foden top, Bruno and Gordon.
Oh, you like the Foden? Tell us why you like the Foden punts off. You've been quiet about it, and then suddenly we hear Foden number 1 pick. Go on, give us your reasons.
It's just the fixtures, man. I know like we keep writing off City. It's good to have a laugh at them every now and then, but are we not expecting them to get another win now for the rest of the season? Like,
Good
look
point.
at the fixtures. It's Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. You couldn't cherry pick a better set of fixtures. I know Everton have been good. Everton have been better defensively, but I'm just getting some feelings from Foden. He's getting back to his best. I might not buy him still because ultimately I need money to upgrade other positions, but I have a very strong feeling that he is going to come back.
Can I say something to spook you? I don't know why De Bruyne played 0 minutes, but like even if he played 30 minutes, I'd have De Bruyne over Foden in terms of just generally. In
He
these
has
kind of
played.
games.
He has played them together also recently, no? In the couple of games where
Yeah.
De Bruyne
But
played.
I
think
just don't
Foden
know
didn't
why De
play.
Bruyne didn't play. Like that puts you off, right? Of somebody who's had like injury issues and groin issues and whatnot throughout. So
And the other negative is City leagues have completely dried up. You'll go in blind. Like
That's the
if they
thing.
were, yeah. So sorry, go on.
No, I was saying that's the thing. I might not get Foden this week. I might get somebody like a Sar and then potentially leave some cash in the bank to go there for Boomo if Foden looks fire against Everton, because the Leicester fixture is potentially a better entry point than the Everton one.
yeah, fair shout.
Yeah. Could do
Something
that.
like that is what I'm trying to do. So let's do now the picks below 6.5. Pras, you go first.
I think Sar has to be the highest. Second, man, take your pick, man. Like they're all good. Like Semenyo was good. Rogers was so good. Like, even though I benched his points, I was so happy that I'm going to play him home to Leicester. I would still put Ahmad as the second because I think the potential is there, right? I mean, we're talking about Martinelli, Jesus. The ceiling is there. Similarly, Ahmad's ceiling is there. He could play 10 for, we sign a nice... I think the missing jigsaw, I mean, there's lots of missing pieces in Man United, is basically a wing back. A left wing back or a right wing back. Even if you get them on loan, there's talk of Theo Hernandez being signed. So if that happens, it will unlock Ahmad to play the 10 the whole time. And that will be big for him. Otherwise, I think Mazraoui and Dalot as the two wing backs doesn't work as well. So... long story short, I think Ahmad has the highest sort of upside long term.
I think Sar and Ahmad, I think, would be pretty common for, I think, all of us, LR. This is the third one.
Yeah,
really,
number
I think.
3 Rogers though.
Would you buy Rodgers though?
Yes.
I see a lot of people buying Rogers.
Newcastle away,
Brighton,
Brighton
Leicester.
home, Leicester, then Everton away, Arsenal away. Not
West
as a
Ham,
perma
Wolves,
play, brother.
Ipswich.
Not as a perma play.
Ex-
Maybe as your 8th attacker. If you're looking to buy him as a 7th, I'd really
Except
not
for
think
Arsenal away, all fixtures are playable.
that. Newcastle away, Everton away, Arsenal away.
Yeah, he's fine.
I'm not that confident. I think again as your 8th, as in maybe as a rotation with somebody like an Enzo, rotation with somebody like a Semenyo is fine. But if you're looking to
He
play
rotates
every
with
week-
João Pedro beautifully, by the way. Rogers.
And see the home fixtures. Zoph, you started the away fixtures, but the home fixtures are Brighton, Leicester, West Ham, and Ipswich. Juicy as hell.
That's why I like him as a rotation. That's what I mentioned. As a 7th, I'm a little bit dodgy, but as an 8th, if you're planning to rotate him, I can get on board. The other two
Yeah, I
guys,
think
Ahmad and all.
Nobody has a 7
seven
these days. It's 7th and 8th rotate. Like
Yeah, everybody has an 8 these days. Except for Haaland owners, everybody has an 8.
Yeah, like you have dribbling.
Yeah.
even Dibbling may be resuscitated, man. I mean,
Yeah, because
like
new manager.
new manager, and he was playing he likes a 5 at the back, so he could be one of the 10s or something.
But he was subbed off in the 45th minute.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like
I will be, unfortunately, even though with the fixtures, I can't really recommend him because Fulham, just very hit and miss. Like under 1 XG against Southampton, very few big chances. Obviously, Southampton.
While
were a
we're
bit tighter.
discussing this bracket, we'd be doing a disservice by not mentioning Mr. Murphy. What do you guys think? Just
very 6
passing thought.
returns over the last 6 matches, but minutes. Minutes. They're the
Minutes
concern.
is the problem. By the way, all our comments in this podcast are going to be Man United bias. Like I can
We've
see,
got
like
plenty of
we're
that.
trying to give a more balanced view. I have bought Bruno. None of the other guys are looking at buying him, so we have to justify why I made the decision, right? I mean, it's not like, and trust me, I'm
I
not
might
buying
still
Bruno
buy
because
him.
I'm a Man United
I
fan.
might still buy him as well. He is on my radar.
But I don't think the comments are wrong, Pras. I think you're very heavily Man United biased.
I mean, usually you guys know how pessimistic I am. So,
LR's enjoying it.
Yeah, it's so nice to be on this side of the fence for once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. I think the third one, pretty much you can take your pick. It's a shot in the dark. Your Semenyos, Enzo's, it's Rogers. It's all pretty much
Rogers.
the same.
It's Rogers.
I still have to potentially buy Enzo over Rogers, man. I think the fixtures are better.
for set pieces, I prefer Enzo as well. But we keep undermining Rogers. Rogers scored 4 goals all on my bench. All 4 of them.
I sold him this week for Ahmad, man. Like, I was like, one part of me was like, shit, yeah, I wish Ahmad didn't do that bit of magic. Just, I'd be sitting on 20 plus points this week. I'd be sitting on 105.
Yeah. What does Rogers do was a chance press, by the way, during our meetup.
Was it? What does Rogers do? Let me try on a player that I own and I'll actually end up starting. What does Enzo do? I don't understand.
Cool. I think we've spoken about the mids. Just touch upon the forwards. I think that sort of interplayed with our discussion already.
Yeah, we discussed it
on the Cunha
already.
replacement sort of thing. So let's just round up our top 3 over there as well. I think Jackson, Wood, and who else is in discussion?
If people don't have Isak, prioritize him.
Isak is absolute no-brainer. I think that's absolutely mentioned that. After that, there's Jackson. Have you gone a bit cold on Mateta?
No. I like him. He's the kind of pick, when he scores, everybody will want him. Get him if you can earlier. I don't think he's better than Jackson. So I'm not going to sit here and say you get Mateta over Jackson. But if you were so inclined and you wanted to, the fixtures are there. Like, he could go on a run. And he's on penalties.
Yeah, because there's a dearth of forwards. I'm just looking at the other teams you can really invest in. Obviously, I think Jesus, it has to be in the discussion as well.
That was my question for Pras. If buying today, Jesus or Mateta?
Today, as in this week,
If
of
the
course
ban is
Jesus.
announced today.
Of course,
Yeah,
Jesus. Home to Ipswich. You take it and then you move on. Like, that's a transfer I'm willing to play because nobody feels long term.
And upside
Apart
is
from
there
Jackson.
for the 4 weeks, yeah, with you.
Cool. Let's do a sleeper plug.
Before the sleeper plug, let's do a little Christmas. We're not that far away from 35k subscribers. So why don't you tell the people to click the buttons?
I think we are very close now. I think we are 34,893 or something like that. So do help us get there. We've enjoyed doing the content over the December period. There's a lot more coming. I think we will be podding next, I think this Friday. That's the plan ahead of the weekend games. There are more team selection videos that are coming. I'll also be doing the stat review video. I couldn't do it this morning. So a lot of content coming. We appreciate your support and your continued viewing over this Christmas period.
Since Zoph was so convincing in his like and subscribe, but I just want to add that our actual target is to get to 35,000 subscribers in the next 48 hours because we wanted to get there by Christmas. So I wasn't believing in it, but Pras made a few nice shout outs and we want to get there by Christmas. We just really want to get there by Christmas. So help us get there. Just click the subscribe
LR
button.
is one of those stretch target bosses because I thought we had agreed year end. And now he's like, no, I want by Christmas. All right.
It was Christmas. It was
Was it?
Christmas, and then we thought it was far off, but then there's been a little bit of a splurge in the last 5-6 days, thanks to your 14k rank, and you're a man of the people as well as the ladies. So just
Please,
help us get
I
there.
have read the chat today. Go back and check it out. LR, you've missed a lot. There's a new
man.
favorite of the pod. There were some biceps on display in the photos, and there's a new man of the pod.
Actually, while you guys were like, Pras, you missed out on an opportunity. While Zoph was going to Singapore, we should have put a petition out because out of the 3 of us, he's the only eligible bachelor out there.
I was
So
going
if
to say in the
people-
chat, like, now you've hit the nail on the head in terms of where to go.
Yeah.
Sleeper.
All right, man.
Let's plug that
We,
sleeper.
we'll steer direction. We'll steer direction. And if you haven't seen them, check out Zoph's guns in the first 5-10 minutes of the pods, and just for that, hit like and subscribe. But get us there by Christmas. We really want to get there by
There's a
Christmas.
few super chats as well, which we need to
Yeah,
remember
we do
to
that. I'm
get.
sorry for the match odds now. We haven't got the latest one. This image is from one of the older setups, so it's all over the place. But let's do our sleeper plug. Pras,
Okay.
take it away.
So basically, now there's a lot of new subscribers. So the old ones, you know what this gig is. But for the new ones and the new listeners, basically we play this game completely free to play, where you have to essentially just select the winner of every single match, every single game week. And if you successfully do that, we have our own league, which is a public league, where basically the winner every month who has just basically predicted the most number of correct results, not the score, just the result, who wins, draws, or loses, wins a Premier League jersey. We do that every single month. And at the end of the year, if you're one of the top 10, then the top 3 will get a PlayStation and the other 7 will get a Premier League jersey as well. If you wanted to get involved in the Discord league, so we have a separate league for only the people who are on our Discord. And to join the Discord, you have to be a Patreon on patreon.com/the FPL Wire, or be a YouTube member. You can get into an exclusive league. And that basically every month we have the top 3 winners getting a Premier League jersey. So it's a good time to get involved. The app is called Sleeper, and you can download it from the QR code on the top right. And the Pick'em League is the second QR code where you go straight to the FPL Wire League. And if you get involved, it's a great time because you can play around with this game week and the Boxing Day. And then in January, you can plan to win it.
Fantastic. Now, before we jump into our bus teams, I think captaincy is obviously a bit of a no-brainer on Salah this week, but there are quite a few considering the triple captaincy. Now, tell us, Pras, why you think that is actually a conceivable idea this week.
So look, I mean, I played my triple captaincy on a single game week with the understanding that there are fewer double game weeks this year. So what changed is basically this Storm Dara came and the Liverpool-Everton game was postponed, right? So the fact that now there are enough double game weeks is there. So you could still find a double game week for Salah and triple captain him. The spanner to this is basically 2 things. Number 1, the most likely that is in the news that people are predicting the double to fall is basically game week 24, which is away to Everton, away to Bournemouth. So if I sit here and ask you which game do Liverpool have a higher expected goals, away to Everton, away to Bournemouth, I think they'll have 1.7, 1.8, something like that in those 2 games. Add them up, that's 3.5. What is the expected goals for Liverpool home to Leicester? 3.65. So point being that in terms of number of goals scored, you may actually have the same thing between Liverpool and Leicester versus the 2 games that you will get in a double game week. Of course, there is the idea that you will get 2 more appearance points, and there's a chance that you could get unlucky in this game. Salah gets a 45th minute sub or a 60th minute sub. In 2 games, maybe you can get lucky. So I would still say double game week is the way to play. But there are still only 3 double game weeks this year. There is the assistant manager chip to play, there's the bench boost to play, there's the free hit to play, and there's a triple captaincy to play. You can play the free hit in a blank game week. I like to do that. A lot of people don't. Last year, people played a free hit in a double game week. They were super, super successful. So there is still a school of thought that says find a really juicy single game week where you get a guy who's on fire, on the form of his life, playing a team that are on their knees without a goalkeeper, with a manager who doesn't know how to defend. It's Liverpool versus Leicester. That's the theory.
And what is the opportunity cost? You mentioned, for example, we have the assistant manager projections now up here from Rob T. You were mentioning that around 24, we might want to play that chip on slot instead.
I mean, you could play it on slot or dice, because the way the chip has been structured is actually priced really nicely, where if you go for the underdog, you can get a table bonus. So the expected points will be quite similar. It's whether you want to gamble or play safe.
Oh, yeah, so and you can go for a third Liverpool pick in that sense.
You can go for a third.
Because you're never going to triple up on Everton.
Dice plus Diaz or Alisson or Van Dijk instead of a slot plus a McNeil, basically. So that's basically the math that you need to. I think there will be 3 places where you can play the assistant manager. It will be game week 24. It could be game week 31. So you could play 31, 32, 33. And we're not going to get into very deep chip strategy here, but game week 31 or 30 will be a good wildcard window, because game week 29 is going to be not a big blank, but a blank for big teams. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle.
If you put the blank odds of Pras.
Yeah, if you put the blank odds. So these are the teams that are expected to reach the Carabao Cup final, right? It's going to be, let's say, Arsenal are in one semi-final and Liverpool are in one. So if Arsenal and Liverpool reach the Carabao Cup final, then their Arsenal's game with Chelsea will be a blank in Game Week 29, and the Villa game with Liverpool will be a blank. So that's a 35% likelihood that these three teams, the teams which constitute a lot of our players right now, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal, will blank. And you could even include Rodgers in here. The first thought will be, I'll just free hit in Game Week 29, right? But the problem is, in Game Week 34, the teams that are in the semi-final of the FA Cup will also blank. So you would also expect that good teams will also reach the semi-final of the FA Cup, right? So in fact, more teams reach the semi-final of the FA Cup than the final of the Carabao Cup. So 34 could be an even uglier blank, unless you get lucky and there are like lots of upsets. So what I'm saying is, don't just assume Game Week 29 is a free hit. I actually think Game Week 29 won't be a free hit for many reasons, which I won't get into. We'll do a chip strategy pod, but I'll just drop one thing, that a certain Mr. Erling Haaland plays Leicester at home in Game Week 30. So if you keep a lot of free transfers, do a little bit of Salah to Haaland in the blank Game Week 29, have Haaland for this Game Week 30 Leicester at home.
Brighton at home in 29 as well.
Exactly. He's the best captain. So you could have a strategy where you say, basically, say, I'll sell a couple of these guys. And this is exactly the reason it goes back to the beginning of the pod. So we've closed the loop very nicely, where I am obsessed between now and Game Week 29 to load up as many free transfers as I can, because I want to get to 4 or 5 by the time we reach Game Week 29.
Even if Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool like don't blank, it's Newcastle or Spurs or Fulham, still very relevant FPL teams given the players we own at the moment. So it is going to be fairly significant in terms of squad building.
Yeah. And who plays Leicester in Game Week 29?
United.
Bruno.
I know that.
So
long way to go, but I do get your point. But somehow I'm just not feeling the triple captaincy this week just because of the turnarounds being so short. I mean, like you mentioned, Pras, Liverpool go 2-0, 3-0 up. Salah, there's no... And of course, you'd expect him to have plundered some points by then. But I'd somehow... Bournemouth, I know it's a difficult fixture, but I always feel Liverpool are the kind of team who can get at Bournemouth. I have some memories of a Salah hat-trick, of course, different Bournemouth, different Liverpool. So I just think the upside is higher with Salah in the double. Again, against Everton,
Absolutely.
It's a game state. Once Liverpool score the early goal, anything can happen in that game.
I mean, as a triple captain player, all I wanted to say is I'm actually really afraid of people's triple captainship this week, because I feel like it could be anything. Whereas in the double, I'll be afraid, but I'll be in both games. I'll go in watching it saying, come on, Salah, you can blank in this one. You can do it, because that's just how Everton are at home and Bournemouth are at home. It's just I'm coming from somebody who's already played it on what do I want people not to do. I think this week, the ceiling is incredible. So that's just one perspective. I would probably also save it for a double game week. That's just how I always go as well.
Just a side note, a dysfunctional attack like United did manage to get a lot of shots from outside the box, but 23 shots against a Bournemouth team.
Yeah, but that's what we mentioned. Remember when we were talking about Højsund a few weeks ago, and that's the main thing you mentioned. They'll always give up your 1 or 2 big chances, and I did manage to see the highlights. United should have had a couple.
Yeah. And it was Ahmad and Bruno. Those two combined for everything good that we did.
Yep. So triple captaincy, I don't think any of us are really advocating. We won't put you off it. It's definitely a play.
It's a good shot, yeah. If somebody wants to chance it, take it. I mean, we won't put anybody off it. I think that's the stance of the pod.
Pretty much. Bus teams?
Cool.
Or super chat first. What do you want to do?
Super chats.
Okay, so let's do super chats first.
So we have one from. You want to put them up, Zoph, so you know
I'm
which one
trying
you're
to,
reading on?
the chat had just
Okay,
crashed.
I'll read it out. So Saka, Van Heck, and Cunha out for Trent, Martinelli, and Jesus. Saka, Van Heck, and Cunha for Trent, Martinelli, and Jesus. Martinelli and Jesus gets a little too punty for me. Both could become a problem, no?
And who's the defender? He's getting Trent.
Trent, yeah. That's good.
I'll probably get your Sard in for your Martinelli and Jesus, because I think Jesus just feels to be a bit higher upside than Martinelli.
I would do that. I would get Sar instead of Martinelli, and then keep the Jesus money in case you want to upgrade him later to Mateta or to Jackson. I'm assuming he has Isak already.
Fair shot, but I don't mind you doing the eggs and baskets things because there are goals in the next 4 games.
Yeah. Fair. And he's also asking bench Pedro or Rodgers?
Pedro's Brentford at
play
home.
Pedro. Play Pedro.
Pedro's Brentford at home.
Bench Rogers.
We've come full cycle, guys. From captaining Pedro to benching Pedro.
Emre Kappa, a
Alright.
regular supporter. He's asking, should I wait till game week 21 to get Isak and instead upgrade Enzo to Sar? I mean, I stopped reading once he said, should I wait till game week 21 to get Isak? Just buy Isak now.
Buy Isak now.
Yeah,
Pretty
Enzo
much
versus Sar is not that much
He's got
compared to Isak or any striker.
He's had 4 goals and an assist in the last 2 games, and you've gotten away with it. He could have had 2, 3, 4 more returns easy.
Buy Isak. Absolutely. Absolutely top priority. Saka to Sar and Cunha to Isak for -4. Worth it?
Yes.
I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Even if Cunha isn't banned, I think Isak is just...
Because
on
it's
another
Isak.
level.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for now. If there are any more, we'll answer them after our bus teams.
Tariq also sent one. He said, LR, make a case for Foden. We already did it, but I just wanted to shout out his name as well.
Cheers.
Yep.
Now, this is my team. I've got Fabianski in goal, Trent, Gabriel, and Robinson away to Chelsea. Not great. Bumo, Salah cap, Palmer, Saka, Semenyo, Isak and Joao Pedro. The bench is Flecken, Strand Larsen, Greaves, and Mikalenko. 2 free transfers, nothing in the bank. So, what I'm thinking is again do Saka to Sar this week and sort of observe what I want to do next week, or potentially buy Bruno. The question is now, if I buy Bruno, I'd be tempted to invest in, Strand Larsen to Wood and bench Semenyo. But I think Semenyo is playable this week. Home to Palace is possibly a good fixture. You never know what fire I may need next week. And another thing I have to think now about is that defender slot. Now, Mikalenko is fine. Now, do I spend another transfer in upgrading Greaves when these 3 are going to be playable for me in defense for the next 5 to 6 weeks? Is what we were discussing earlier, Pras, right? I could buy Munoz, but again, Munoz away to Bournemouth, I'm not really expecting much. Who else would I buy?
I mean, if you're convinced you want him next week, then just get him and play him away to Bournemouth.
I just like these 3 guys. I think Robinson is just a fantastic play over the next 4 to 5 weeks. I'm not worried. I don't think I'll be benching him in any of the fixtures. Even Bournemouth at home, I'm pretty much fine playing him. So I think potentially just take the 2-3 pointer this week. Because the problem with Fulham, the news just came in that even Burge is a doubt for the Chelsea
And Lukic
fixture.
too.
And Lukic too. So they are going to be a bit more ropey defensively. Which again brings me to the point that I sort of really want to buy Jackson this week. I could go Sarr and Jackson and bench Semenyo in case if they're going to be without the main 2 CMs. So what do you guys think?
With Fulham also, right? Them missing out on 1 or 2 players doesn't really bother me too much. Even without Anderson, they were tight. The other 7, 8, 9 players sort of show up. They're that well drilled. So, whatever be the fixture, I don't mind giving Robinson a run out. It could easily be a game like the Everton game, So that's my stance on Fulham. But if I was you, I like the Sarr Jackson move.
Get Jackson in for Strand Larsen and bench Semenyo.
Yep. I think Semenyo's bench.
Home to Palace. I don't know, man. Bournemouth are, I think, top 4 in XG.
I think they're the top. Earlier, at one point I checked, top 3.
I mean, depends on the times.
Because Liverpool have shot up because of the Spurs game.
They're legit good, man. And they're home.
But Semenyo, I had Evan Nielsen, tip of this. I just don't think, despite how good they are, they're a result of some of the parts. There's no pick in attack, in my opinion.
That's
Even
fair.
Semenyo
That's fair.
is not a pick.
What do you guys think of Bruno and Jesus?
Ooh, tasty. Tasty.
And that could be my move.
Yeah.
Bruno and Jesus is something I could do. But then that means no Jackson for at least a while. I'd have to downgrade Bumo. But that's fine. I'm okay with going without Jackson for the next 2. I could keep Bumo, convert Bumo to somebody else and get that money out for Jackson later. But in which case, it would be likely Joao Pedro making way.
Yeah, I don't mind it, Zoph, because you're also chasing a little. So I'd want to sex it up a little bit.
That's the thing. I need some sort of spice.
And Jesus helps that.
See, with Jackson, I mean, we talked about him. He's a very good pick. Again, people who don't have Jackson slightly get angry. But in the next 2, if you're taking a leap of faith that he misses one, then he has Palace away on the 4th of Jan. Then there's a 10-day break.
Yeah, that's the FA Cup games, which you probably expect Nkunku to play.
Then you have almost like a reset, going back to Team A, Team B, Team A, Team B for the rest of the season. Beautiful entry point for Jackson. I've penciled in home to Bournemouth as the entry point if I wanted to go Jackson, if I don't do it this week.
Right.
And I think it's okay.
I think the next 3 I'm willing to go without Nico.
Yeah, I came in saying prioritize Jackson, but I like the sexy Jesus punt for a while before going there. I'm with you guys. Turn my head.
Yeah, because I don't mind benching Semenyo as much. Semenyo only seems to be scoring points when I bench him. It's a very frustrating.
Welcome to the club.
This whole 8th attacker things has not been fun. I've tried it this season. It's not something I enjoy.
I got some comments on my when I posted my team. Oh, you must be crying. Roger scored a double digit. I was like, dude, I had 3 hat tricks on my bench. This is like chump change, man. I mean, this is nothing. It's okay. Last year I had 3 hat tricks.
This is your team, Pras. Do you have it in front or do I read it out?
I have it. So I have Raya and Gabriel. So nice fixture. Like, by the way, one thing we didn't talk about, Arsenal's defense doesn't change, right? Okay, Saka is a little bit of a miss, but the way they fundamentally play, hopefully there is not too much chaos introduced. So I think I'm still on double defense. Then Trent home to Leicester. I really hope he starts and he does well, because he becomes a little bit like, after this week, people will start getting to him the closer we get to a double. And then a certain Rico Lewis is back in the team, home to Everton. We'll see if he starts. Like, if I get any news that Rico Lewis is not starting, I'll just get Munoz. Like, I'm prepared to get Munoz next week, no matter what. And so if I have to do it this week, I'll do it this week.
But if you go in blind, I think you start Lewis. We don't get the news. I think it's
yeah, of course. If you don't, and that's the base case, because I don't think we're getting anything these days on City.
Yep.
So then I have Salah captain, Palmer, Enzo, Bruno, and Cunha, Isak, and João Pedro. So I think the only issue now is Cunha. If he's fine, if we don't hear anything on the ban, then he stays and I'll just roll. And then next week I can do lots of things. I can do Cunha to Jesus. I can do Enzo to Martinelli. I can roll. I can do Cunha to Jackson. Anyone who I want. Basically, money is not a problem. So
if banned, who are you looking at?
If he's banned, I might go Jesus.
I like it. Cool.
Your team, LR?
Raya, Timber, Gabriel, Robinson, Salah, Palmer, Enzo, Ahmad, Pedro, Haaland, Isak. I'm looking to save. Next week, eyeing up removing some cash from my Arsenal defense, because I don't think Brighton, Brentford, Spurs is actually that great for clean sheets. So I've got something like Raya, Timber, Enzo to Munoz, Sanchez / Henderson, and Martinelli lined up.
Sanchez came through, man. The 9-pointer.
Yeah. He's actually low-key, just because we've been shitting on him a lot on the pod. Last 3-4 games, really good.
He's made some
Genuinely
big saves. He's got
saves.
his points. He makes some catastrophic mistakes, but he does make some wonder saves. So I am eating my hat a little bit on that Jackson pick.
Yeah, he's doing well. So yeah, saving this week.
Yep, I think it's a good save.
Couple of other super chats. So one is just a thank you from Yassine El Garabi. I hope I'm pronouncing the name
Let
properly.
me just highlight that. Yep.
And then I'll read out the other one, which is basically from Zariab Khan. I have Gabriel, Timber, Robinson, Munoz, and Mikolenko. Man, what a defense. Who to replace for Trent? No one. Like, does he need to?
Robinson. I mean, no, not Robinson, not Munoz. I mean,
Gabriel and Timber.
Gabriel
He's
Timber.
fine.
I think you replaced one of the Arsenal guys in the weeks that are coming. You could potentially.
Honestly,
go
I would.
Trent.
He's also asking about who to replace Flecken with. Just if you have money, go Flecken to Allison. Don't touch your defenders. They're fine, no?
I don't know, but Allison just said. Again, we were having a discussion with LR earlier. Premium keepers just don't float my boat.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with premium keepers is when you will look at it in hindsight and you will say, look, premium keepers only scored 15 points more than 4.5 keepers. But the problem with 4.5 keepers is you can get it horribly wrong as well. Like, you will only look in hindsight who the best 2, 3, 4.5 keepers were. But you could be right now sitting on a Flecken or a Henderson who have done nothing. Or you could be sitting on a Sanchez or a Sells who've done a lot.
In hindsight, though, the answer for the best keeper cheap has been the same for the last 3 years.
Of course.
We've just been trapped every year. It's just been Pickford.
Yeah.
It's just been him. He's the guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is true. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I would just go Allison personally because of the double in mind as well, right? Like, why would he sell any of Munoz, Robinson, Timber, or Gabriel?
He needs to sell somebody though. Sell Timber. Trent is a far superior.
I think Pras, you don't want to go to a double without Trent, Pras.
Yeah. Like, I will have Trent soon.
But he can do it later. Okay, anyway, that we can have different views. I just feel like, okay, you can wait.
Do it after Ipswich, maybe. But
Yeah,
like
that's
then
what I said,
he
do it after
Leicester.
Ipswich.
But then Leicester at home is just a 20-point game sitting there if it
So is
works
it
out, you
Ipswich
know.
potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, but Trent is.
Yeah, Trent could get attack like easily. This could be clean sheet players attacking return.
Yeah, it can
This
be the
is
Leicester
Leicester
done it
score which he
before.
got. Yeah,
He's got previous against Leicester.
Yeah. What was it? 25 points?
24.
Yeah, man, I remember.
I
24.
did not own 24.
I owned that game. That was
I
sensational.
did own him. Yeah.
He had a blank the previous week. Let's not
All right,
bring up
question
past
question to you guys. What's your one FPL wish for Christmas?
Chelsea to win the title.
It's not FPL wish.
Yeah, Zoph. FPL wish for this week for
Oh.
Christmas.
Boomer hat trick.
I was gonna go for a longer term wish. I was gonna go for Saka to make a
I
miraculous
thought
quicker
we
recovery.
agreed to this week.
I'm so sad, man. I love Saka, man. I was so
We'll
sad
go
to
short
see
term
it.
and long term, just because Pras can have that wish.
My wish is Bruno to score a brace against Wolves. What else? Like the one pick that not everybody is on at the moment.
Same wish here with Ahmad. Double return against Wolves. That's my wish for Christmas. Long term wish, Zoph?
Chelsea to win the title. It's not FPL related, but I don't care where I finish. Chelsea winning the title, it should be amazing. I don't think it'll happen.
So-
though. We are
so
definitely
you
one
are
step below
saying-
Liverpool.
But you're saying that you're in the title race.
Yes, we are in the title
Okay.
race.
First Chelsea fan to admit that.
Yeah. Pras?
Yeah, I mean, I already said it. I'm not going to use a Man United one because I've done enough Man United propaganda on this spot. And look, I said early season, Saka was my favorite FPL pick. We played 2 sleeper drafts. He was our first pick on sleeper on our draft. Another sleeper one, he is my pick. I played 2 FPL drafts. He was my pick. He is in my FPL team. I just hope he gets well soon. And the February thing is like late January and we can see him back by Gameweek 22-23. I would love that.
I'll go with my long term wish. Pras to finish with a double digit FPL rank this season.
Oh man,
Let's go,
that's
Pras.
not possible. Like,
Ooh,
come on,
let's
we're making
go.
realistic
Let's
wishes.
go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
no, we're cheering
going
you
with-
on, man.
That's like under 1% probability. But anyway.
Yes, but the probability is as good as it can be in Game Week 18, Pras. Let's not forget that.
This is true. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
We can wish anyone who celebrates Christmas a very Merry Christmas, and those who don't, Happy Holidays. It's a nice time to spend with family, with friends, to watch a lot of football. Boxing Day is the best football day of the year by far. You get cricket, you get football, you get tennis, you get everything that your heart desires. So enjoy it.
I hope India actually won a test match. That's not football related.
Indeed.
Cool,
Yeah, and what a
guys.
lineup. I mean, we didn't do not plug today, but I'm just so excited for the TV lineup also. Like 26th December, we got Squid Games. 1st Jan, we've got Traitors. Mid Jan, we've got Severance. It's looking bloody good for the next month or so.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
All right.
Great to
Happy
have you
holiday,
back, Anand.
guys.
Great to have you back
Likewise,
again.
likewise.
Happy holidays to everyone. We'll see you now with the team selection videos for the next couple of weeks, the stats review video, and the pod. We will be back most likely on Friday. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't hit the button already. See you guys again soon. Merry Christmas.
1:30
once
away.
again.